Yeah, hello and welcome everyone who's actually watching this, I guess. So as you all should know, the Smite esports season is going to start really soon. It's going to start tomorrow. Yeah, it's tomorrow actually. Yeah, you can see here the first games are on the 24th of March, which is tomorrow because today's Wednesday, the 23rd of March. Anyway, what is this video about? Well, it's essentially going to be me explaining how I think the different teams in Europe will perform. I'll make one for NA later on, but right now it's Europe's turn. So we're just going to take a look at who's playing in which team, what I think is going to happen, who's going to take which rank, essentially. And sorry for my accent. I know it's terrible, but you'll just have to deal with it, because I cannot get rid of it right now. So I'm sorry. Anyway, I've made some notes, and I'm just going to go through each team one by one, the way they're listed in the image in the top left, I guess. So we're going to start with Paradigm. So, one thing to note about Paradigm is they're one of the only teams that has not made any roster changes going into Season 3. Still have the same roster they had at Worlds, at Super Regionals, where, well, they were successful at Super Regionals, they were not all that successful at Worlds, losing to Enemy and dropping in the semifinals. Well, they have the same roster, and it has proven to be a fairly good roster last season. They were like top 3 of EU pretty much all the way through, especially in the fall split. And they actually managed to beat Epsilon at Super Regionals and take the title of EU champion. So what I'm basically leading to is the same roster. You'd think the performance would be around the same level, essentially, because it's the same players, and they've all historically been very consistent across multiple seasons. I mean, Funballer has played in Season 1. Basically, all those players have played in Season 1, some even that I know of going back into Season 0, into the original, into the launch tournament, where, of course, QO, Lobster, and Trix Tank won. But what I really think is the strongest part of the roster is still Celia, their solo laner, because he's one of those solo laners that can just hard carry a game. A lot of solo laners are just doing their job. Celia seems to do more than that at times, and he's also proven to work in multiple metas, essentially, because he's played for over 3 years, so he's played in basically every meta you could have played in at the time. And well, that long time playing together is also important, because, well, they've now been together for more than a year. They formed going to the spring split of last year. It's now a year later. They're still the same roster, so synergy is obviously gonna be there. If you can keep a roster together for over a year, you're gonna have some synergy, because either it's gonna build up with time, or if there's not anything there originally, it's just not gonna work for a year. You're not gonna keep the same roster together for a year if it's not working, and it obviously was working. So where do I think Paradigm's gonna end up this season? I think they'll most likely be the number 2 team in EU, because their roster is really good. There's a lot of star power in it. They're all very good players. They've been together for over a year, so their synergy is amazing. But why only number 2? Well, because Epsilon or Panthera is still there. So that's what we're gonna go on to now, because the second team on the list is Panthera, previously Epsilon, the world champions. That basically says everything you need to know about the team. Because everything you need to know is that the team is amazing. That they are most likely still the best team in the world. And that they've not made any roster changes either. Them and Paradigm are the only teams, I think, that haven't made any roster changes. Yeah, it's actually true. So, I don't know how they're going to really drop in performance. Especially with what I'm going to say later on. But, well, I expect them to be dominant again, really. Because it's the same roster, they were dominant last year. And the other rosters around them don't seem to be getting stronger. Maybe with the exception of Paradigm, Cringe Crew, and Torpedo. And, well, they also still have the best player in the world adapting. I mean, it's pretty much undoubtedly there, at least online. On LAN, he's not really performed to the same level, but it's also really hard to perform to an adapting level in general, because his level is just incredibly high. And they have Demi, one of the most solid solo laners in the world. And just overall, the roster is really good. I mean, Yaman has also proven to be a really good mid. Probably the best mid in EU, together with Lobster and Zeros. So it's just going to be really hard to beat this team for anyone, really. And they've got Raffer's leadership, which has proven to be really good in the last year. So I don't see anyone beating them, honestly. Then, yeah, so I suspect they'll be the #1 team. They'll not drop below 3rd. That's basically guaranteed. Okay, now on to Fnatic. So, Fnatic still has Maniac. My headset just went out. Maniac, Zeros, and Rails. Those 3 players are all extremely good. They're like top quality players. Maniac's definitely a top 3 solo laner in the EU. Reals is probably still the best AD carry in the EU. And Zeros is definitely a top 3 mid laner in the EU. But the issue is with Fnatic, they have 2 new players. And I would not put those 2 into the same category as the other 3. Because especially Chiffy just seems like a really inexperienced player. Because if you look at it, basically, if you look at the Esportspedia, what you'll notice is there's nothing about him here. I mean, you have a team and tournament history, and there's just nothing in there. And I'm just a bit critical, maybe, but I don't trust that he'll be really good. Because if he was really good, he would have already been picked up, in my opinion, by someone else. And if you look at the history of his teammates, well, that's it. Basically, this is Reals' history. It goes all the way back to the launch tournament. And I think if you go to some of the lesser known players, wait, I got it. If you go to some of the lesser known players, who can I go to? Torpedo is probably the best. Yeah, if you go to Carreño, for example, you'll still see Challenger Cup performances. And what that tells me is Chiffy's not really been active in Smite esports in general, which is worrying, because he's coming into what was the 2nd or 3rd best team in EU last year. And is it justifiable? I don't really understand it. Well, I have faith that they picked him up for a reason, that he's going to be good enough to at least play on an SPL level. But I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to give him anything more than that before I actually see it. So I think it's going to be the big weak point on Fnatic. And if it's not him, it's going to be another man with the name of Big Man Teams. Still best name in Smite esports, honestly. Because he also doesn't have a ton of experience. I think he even played SPL for a time. Oh no, he didn't. Okay, yeah, but he was at least present in Challenger Cup. So that's also worth something, at least. Because you have some experience against good teams. I mean, they played against Torpedo pretty much the entirety of the fall Challenger Cup. And they got first place over the entire thing. So yeah, there's some quality there with many things. Is it Fnatic quality? Is it top 3 EU team quality? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not gonna say this until I see it again. Same as with Chiffy. Just maybe a little less critical. Yeah. What else is there to say about Fnatic? Well, also something that's a bit worrying, although it's less worrying now, is that they seem to have god pool issues a little bit at Super Regions and at Worlds. Because for one, new gods came in, and new gods were an opponent, mostly Xin Chen, who Maniac had a terrible fucking game on. Sol, who Reals wasn't really able to play at a top level. And Chiron, who he also wasn't really able to play at a top level. Because the thing feels is, he works best on hyper carries. And right now, that's also an issue that the ADC meta isn't really centered around hyper carries, because the early game is so important. So he's going to have to play things like Neef that are just nowhere near as good as his ROM. And that could hurt Fnatic a lot. Because Reals is the main carry of Fnatic. He's been that thing since the SK days, essentially. Zeros has a ton of carry potential too, but he's not getting to the same level of carrying as Reals is. So, I don't know. I think they could drop. They could maybe drop 1 or 2 ranks, honestly. They might be overtaken by teams like Cringe Crew or Torpedo. Because the roster changes don't really help them. I'd not rate Chiffy over Twig. And I'd not rate Big Man Tanks over Batcha. So it's just an overall decrease in power from the team, replacing these 2 players. And it might be an issue, it might not be. We'll see. But right now, there's no reason for me to assume that they're going to be better this year than they were last year. Okay. On to the next team. Cringe Crew. Terrible name. London Conspiracy was much better. That's what they were called before. And they have kept like 4 players from their last roster. I think Sashu, Caro, although he used to be called Arrow, Emilsi and Shaggy Shank were all on their roster last year. The only person new to the roster is Replicas. And that is a big name to add to a roster. Because Replicas is pretty much known as the best jungler in EU in Season 1, at least at Worlds. Because that's where he destroyed a lot of people. A lot of dreams were destroyed that day. Especially SK dreams. Sad SK. So the thing is, I honestly think Replicas is the better jungler than Cherio, who they had. I think they had Cherio. Let me check. Cherio used to be in London Conspiracy. They used to have Cherio as the jungler, yeah. So, I think Cherio's not as good as Replicas. So it's just overall a better roster, in my opinion. Unless they get synergy problems. And Replicas in general is still one of the best junglers in the EU. He's probably behind Adapting and Cubo. Cubo is also really good. But he's still up there in the top 3, and that's good enough for a team that's not really going to contest for the top spot when they also have someone like Shaggy Shank. Or Shaggy Tank, I guess. That's how he's called. How he wants to be called. Who's been known to be a really good ADC. It's not really shown the level we were all hoping to see last season, but he still performed well. He still carried the team through some games. And overall, he's a really good player. But at least his potential is really high, because he was really hyped up on I think it was Team Coast during Season 1, when the rest of Team Coast was just fucking terrible. But Shaggy was always considered one of the better AD carries in Europe. So I'm going to be interested to see how he'll perform. And I think this is a really solid roster, honestly. They're one of the teams that I would give a chance to overtake Fnatic and to get into the top 3 of European teams. I don't really see most of the other teams doing as much as them. Okay, now on to Dignitas. Now, Dignitas doesn't look too good, honestly. Because they've replaced... Who have they replaced? They have replaced Variety, who admittedly wasn't the best, the creme de la creme. God, that sounded terrible. Wasn't exactly the best solo in the EU, but he was still fairly solid. With Dark Dodo, a guy who played on, I think, Myrmidons for a couple of weeks before he got kicked again, because it just wasn't good enough. So yeah. If you played on Myrmidons last season, it's not a good sign, honestly. Who fucking plays on Myrmidons? And they replaced Frezzo, who was, I'd say, an average EU support, with Suntouch, a guy who's not played support competitively in like 2 years. Oh, sorry, I touched the mic. So I'm not really putting high hopes on the team. They still have like a couple of good players. I think Frosty and Shadow Nightmare are a really good jungle and mid combo. Especially Shadow Nightmare is probably 4th best mid in EU. Yeah, no, 4th or 5th best. Just in the top 5, I'd say. And Irons has also proven to be a fairly good hunter. Don't get me wrong, he's not. I wouldn't rate him. I wouldn't put him into the top 3 of hunters, but he's still good for a middle of the pack team. The issue is, I don't see Dark Dodo and Suntouch being good for a middle of the pack team. So I don't know if they're going to be able to actually keep their middle of the pack spot, or if they'll fall into one of the relegation slots. Because it's going to be hard, especially because of the other 2 rosters that are coming after them. Because there we have Torpedo Esports. Are they actually called Torpedo Esports? Let me check. Torpedo Gaming. Okay. Anyway, so the biggest name on Torpedo, probably by far, is Game Hunter, who was at one point, more specifically around the launch tournament, considered to be the best player in the world. He's their solo laner. He got the first pentakill in competitive Smite. So he's a high quality player. And he can be really fucking good if the meta suits him. But he can also be just an average player if the meta doesn't suit him. But the thing is, well, the rest of the roster also looks fairly solid. Because you got Ninja Boba and Carino, who admittedly didn't perform too well last season, when they play on Night's Watch. Actually, most of the roster is just Night's Watch roster. But they've been known to be fairly good players in EU in their positions. I think Boba played on Cloud9 during Season 1, the European Cloud9. And I carried some games from the jungle, and Carino was the middle laner for the coast, who were at around the start of Season 1 SPL considered to be a real threat for basically any team in the league, which then didn't really turn out to be true. But I think Bobat's like a really fairly big name. And then of course you've got Murder, who might be more well known by his other name, Connie Alive, the former Titan support, which says something because Titan, after all, was second place team at the 2015 Smite World Championship. So this is also a roster with really good quality, with some star names, especially if you consider the last name they have on the list, which is their hunter Moex. Because Moex has been known for pretty much the entirety of the EU competitive scene to be one of the most mechanically skilled hunters. And he's just always going to be a threat. He can always carry games. His decision making might be questionable sometimes, but he's a really good player. So what they basically have on the team are 3 really good players in Game Hunter, Murder, and Moex. One potentially really good player in Ninja Boba, and one average player. And that seems like a lot more than what Dignitas have. Also seems like a lot more than what Fnatic could have if Chiffy and Big Man Things do not perform well. Because then you're suddenly in a situation where you have 3 extremely good players and 2 bad players against 4 good players and 1 average player. And this is like the kind of situation where the 4 good players and the average player can actually come out on top. So I think they might have a chance to actually overtake Fnatic too. I don't think they're going to stay in 6th place like now. They're going to go up. They're going to at least overtake Dignitas. They might just also overtake Fnatic and Cringe Crew. It's possible. They might be a top 3 team. So yeah. But I don't know if they're going to be able to take Cringe Crew or Fnatic. But I don't think they'll stay behind Dignitas. And I don't think they'll drop below 100 for more leftovers. Speaking of which, Hungry for More is a new roster. They don't really have a lot of common with a previously existing roster. There's just 2 players on that used to play on the same team, which was Titan. Now of course no longer team, no longer Nordic. And those 2 players are pretty prime and Ataraxia. Both really good players in their roles. I both put them in the top 5 in their roles easily. And then you have other players in there, of course. You have Variety, which I would say is an average solo laner for you. You have Twig, which I would also say is an average jungler for EU. I do not think he has like a top spot in the jungle, but he still has potential, of course, and he's still usually putting up a consistent performance that is good. So he's ahead of a lot of the other junglers. I'd put him around the same level as Frostiak and Bobat, honestly. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, other players on the team. The other player on the team is Syndern. So the thing with Syndern is he hasn't really played on top teams in the recent past. This is him, as you can see. And why is there no history for him? Oh yeah, this is like the teams he used to be on. So some names that come to mind are Chilladas, Team Coast, where I think he played jungle. Yeah, he played jungle after Bobad left Coast to try Cloud9. But he doesn't really have a lot of support experience, really. Which is weird. That's why they put him into support. But the thing is, I don't know how he's going to perform. I'm going to put him in around the same category as Jiffy. I've not seen like any supporting from Sindern. I just know that he's a mechanically pretty player. Around, I wouldn't even say average US SPL player. I'd say he's a little lower than that, honestly. Which isn't that good. So I think Sindern's going to be the weakest point of this HFM roster. Because he's just not proven as a support. But I still think this team can win games against the bigger teams if Pretty Prime or Rexia or both of them are able to put up a good performance because they can obviously carry this team. They have the potential to carry essentially any team. So I still think they're going to win some games. I just don't think they're going to consistently win against the likes of Torpedo, Cringe Crew, Fnatic, Paradigm, and obviously Para. But I think they're also going to move up a spot. I think they're going to be better than the Tasas at least. So there's that. Well. And then there's the last team in the region, which are the leftovers. And what I actually wrote note on this team, it just says Batcha and Friends. well, because it's just Batcha's new team. Batcha is by far the biggest name on this roster. Of course, you also have Cherio, who was the jungler for Conspiracy. Back in the false play, back in the regionals. He actually performed really fucking well in the regionals. It was insane what he did. Because the interesting thing is, this guy's from Egypt, I think. So he has terrible fucking ping to EU servers. And on LAN, of course, that's not a fucking issue. So he just played lights out on LAN. And it was insane. It was really great to see. But the issue is, the Pro League's not going to land. So his performance from Super Regionals is just... He's not going to really be able to keep that up in online play, I think. Because ping's always going to be an issue for him. And who else do you have on this roster? You have two players that I've never heard anything of. Nika and Arkle. We're actually gonna... It's actually the first time I'm searching these players on Wikipedia. So Nika, where has he played before? Okay. Well, so his only experience is the qualifiers for this season of SPL. Interesting. Arkle. What's his only experience? Okay, also only this. The thing is they both played pretty good, I think, in those qualifiers. I don't know if we can actually look at the stats from them on Smite's first page. Where do we have them? Team leftovers. Or the leftovers. No, we do not have any stats. I forgot to say something about that. I'll go back to that later on. Well... So there's enough info about Nika, really. Okay, I'm going to do something. We're going to go to Smite Reddit. No, we're going to go to Smite Pro Reddit. And just look at the match reports. leftovers. Because there were match reports for relegations. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So here's what Nika did. He played Wukong. Oh yeah, he's the guy who plays Wukong. Right. I'm so happy about that actually, because people always say Wukong's terrible, and he just proves them wrong somehow. And I like him for that. Anyway, so he's played relevant relegations, at least in this game. Oh yeah, he's played relevant relegations. He's played really relevant relegations. Oh my! Wow. That I did not expect. Okay. So the thing is, seems in relegation he looks like a really good player. The issue is, solo lane is really snowbally. So if you're against a better opponent, it's always gonna look like better than it actually was, most likely. And if you don't just win the matchup outright, it's harder to play solo lane going into team fight phase if you're not fed. And Team Astro is just not that good of a team. They're actually not that at the level where I've not really heard anything of them. And Myrmidons, they're Myrmidons. They were basically known as the free win during the fall split of the SPL. So I don't know how much these stats actually count. But hey, he's been successful in some games. He might continue to do so, or he might not. We'll see. This is why it's so exciting. Okay. So the other players are cool. How has he performed? Wow. Okay. Well. Yeah, looks also really good. Except for this game, maybe. Well, so he's supported by Badge. He's probably going to fine, mainly. And before Badge least. So I don't know what I'm supposed to think of them. They're just going to be players that are going to play for them. And no one knows how they're going to perform compared to the rest of the team, who actually have SPL experience. Even the guy called Chandler, who's not actually, who didn't actually wasn't actually named Chandler for the majority of the last season, because he was known under his name Fails. And what team did he play on? Well, Myrmidons. And they're Myrmidons. And that's just not good. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. But I don't think it really counts so much. Wait, they used to have a guy called Shocks. Dark Dodo was actually... No, Dark Dodo played some games, I think. Anyway. Just to summarize this team. You have three... You have two unknown players. Potentially good, potentially bad. It's like a large spectrum. You have one guy who's proven to be like a below average jungler. You have one guy who's playing out of his previous role, but he's playing a role that's like less ping line, I'd say, than Jungle was. And you have one of the best supports in you. What do we conclude from this? They could be anywhere from like 5th to 8th place, honestly. Depending on how well Nika and Dark play. And because they're going to be... Because they'll have to centrally carry this team. Cherio is going to be able to some extent. Fails probably isn't going to be able to because he fails. And Thatcher is a support. Supports. Well, they can sort of carry a game with initiations. But that's really it. You need someone to do the damage, and that someone's going to have to be Cherio, Nika, and/or Arkil. And depending on how much Nika and Arkil show up, they will be team to either be considered a free win or to actually test for a middle of Expo. I don't think they're going to go much further than that. Okay, so that's basically concludes leftovers. Now let's talk about how it ranks different teams. Or should I even talk about this? Yeah, I probably should. So I think the first ranked overall team is going to be Panthera because they're Epsilon. They're just Epsilon. They're really good. I'd put Paradigm in second for now. Sorry for now. Because they also have the same roster. They're really good all season long, except Worlds. And they're just a really solid team in my opinion, with really solid players. And third, I actually put Cringe, so I moved them in front of Fnatic. Because their roster seems to have improved, while Fnatic seems to have not improved. Or while Fnatic's probably going to be a bit worse to a lot worse. So I put them ahead of Fnatic for the moment. We'll see how it actually turns out in the season. But I think they're going to be able to get the third place. I put Fnatic in fourth because I still have enough faith in Reels and Serious and Maniac to actually players that they can make a top team with. Otherwise they would probably went to Repi and Murder and try to get those if there was really they were really I don't know how to say this if no one else really an option because there's still like the Fnatic name probably well just look at where Repi and where Repi and Murder now. Torpedo's probably not paying as much as Fnatic would, and Torpedo's probably as a team probably has less chance of success than a Fnatic Murder would, and Cringe probably not paying at all because they're another national org, and they probably also don't have the same chance of success as a Fnatic Repi and Murder would. So I think it would just have been the logical decision for them to move there. If they had really looked for if Jiffy and things hadn't really good enough. So I put them in fourth because of that reason. Because I think they're going to be decent, both players. Then I put Torpedo in fifth. I think they're gonna overtake Dignitas because Torpedo's just overall the team than us. I put Hungry for More in sixth. Well, I put probably Torpedo. Well, I put Fnatic and Torpedo on the same level. I put Torpedo and Hungry for More at around the same level. So they're gonna contest for those middle of the pack slots, I guess. And then only then after Hungry for More would I put Dignitas, because I think their roster's just gotten a lot worse, and I don't think they're going to be able to hold on to their middle of the pack spot. And after that, I put leftovers. But I think leftovers definitely has the potential to take Dignitas. So that's my rank. You have Panthera first, Paradigm second. Cringe third, Fnatic fourth, Torpedo fifth, Hungry for More sixth, Dignitas seventh, and leftovers eighth. And that's it. And yeah, if you're not excited for USPL, you should be, because I think it's going to be. It looks like it's going to be more competitive this year, especially in the middle of the pack. I don't think the bottom teams are really going to be able to take games from Penfero Paradigm. But I think they can take games from anyone below that, which is looking out to be a really good season so far. Yeah. And you never know. There might be like some distance building between the top four and the bottom four, because you never know how good Fnatic's going to be. You can assume Cringe is going to be good, but they might have more potential they've shown last season. Well, Torpedo can be really good if Game Hunter just gets to launch tournament form. And Hungry for More can also be really good if Syndor proves to be an amazing support. So yeah. It's gonna be an interesting season. Definitely watch. Tomorrow at when does it start? That's a good question. It says here 8 p.m. That's Eastern time. So if you're from EU, it's gonna be somewhere between. It's 8 p.m. for us. I have no idea. When is this starting? Just let me check. It doesn't actually say the times here. Eight p.m. It's 8 p.m. So yeah. Have fun with that. I have no idea when it's going to be. Could be. If it's European time, it's going to be good. If not, well, I'll be in trouble. But wait, the first EU game's actually on 25th. So yeah, for us Europeans, this is naturally starts Friday. But still, be excited, guys. It's gonna be awesome. That's been it for me. I'll see you. I'll probably make a video about NA if I really want to tonight. I don't know. But that's been it for you. If you like the video, if you think I'm informative, well, maybe subscribe. Follow me or whatever. If you might random thoughts from time to time. And I might actually stream sometime again. You never know. Anything could happen. But that's been it for now. Well, bye everyone.